Hi guys, I'm Kiva. I'm here today with Kat Ellis. Kat is the fitness and wellbeing editor at Tech Radar, and she's going to join us today for some questions. So, how are you today, Kat?
Hi, fine, thank you. How are you, Kiva?
I'm good, doing well today. We'll get started with how you got started in journalism.
Yeah, so it was, I kind of always knew that I wanted to do something that wasn't quite a standard 9 to 5 job with a lot of meetings all throughout the day, although I did later find out that there are actually a lot of meetings involved in journalism. Um, but yeah, when I was looking at university courses back in the early 2000s, and I found that although the journalism courses did look interesting, a lot of them were very much theory based rather than practical. So you were kind of studying the theory of journalism and other people's writing rather than doing your own. And it looked like the best way to get actually involved and get the practical skills that you'd need was to do a postgraduate qualification.
Right.
So I did my undergraduate degree in English literature, which obviously has a connection with lots of writing, and you get to spend 3 years reading poems, which is fun. And while I was doing that, I was also getting bits of work experience in working for the university newspaper and little travel magazine that I was doing bits for free. And there was also some little guides to the area. I was studying in Bristol, so there were some student guides I was writing for. So little bits here and there. And then that all really helped with my application when I was applying to study journalism at Cardiff later. I did a postgraduate diploma, and that was pretty full on. It was 9 months, and they really flung you in at the deep end, and it was all your interview skills, everything legal you needed to know about defamation and intellectual property. They taught us shorthand, which I've not really used since. And yeah, it was a really, really good course. I
Very
highly
intense.
recommend it. Sorry?
Very intense then in 9 months.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, especially the shorthand at 9 a.m. every morning, and then the 100 words a minute exam. That was tough, but it was great. And I was really fortunate, and that I knew that I wanted to apply to work for Future,
Okay.
because I go past it on the train all the time. I think that's where I want to be. Future Publishing is the company that owns Tech Radar.
Yeah.
And yeah, I applied for a job there just before I graduated, and that was a job as a production assistant. So you're basically a human spell checker, but it's a good entry level position. And I was really lucky that I got that, and I started working at Future 2 weeks after I graduated.
Oh my goodness. Oh God,
That
that was
was how I
fast.
got into
Yeah.
it. It just all
Lovely.
fell into place.
Brilliant. And then you were originally technology journalist, and then you make the move then into fitness and well-being.
Yeah, because my job is kind of both, really. So
Okay.
I'm doing sort of fitness technology, so it's a lot of like watches and things.
Yeah. Oh,
But when I first joined Future, I knew that I wanted to kind of get into the technology side of things. We had loads of technology magazines in particular. So an opportunity came up there to move from being a human spell checker to doing sort of news writing and things for one of our magazines at the time, which was PC Plus, which has since unfortunately folded, but that's kind of what's happening with print magazines at the moment.
Yeah.
And while I was there, an opportunity came up to work at Tech Radar, and because it's such a change of pace, you know, you've not got your monthly deadlines, and you've got daily, hourly, just a few minutes sometimes to get something up, and it is just so exciting and dynamic. I had to grab that chance, and that was writing about software, so sort of consumer software, so things that you'd use for editing your photos, editing PDFs and that kind of thing. But after a couple of years, I got a little bored of that, wanted to change. And running has always been a really big hobby of mine. I've trained run leader, and yeah, that's always been really interesting to me. And fun challenge. So I talked to our editor-in-chief, and it turned out that fitness tech was an area that he'd been hoping to expand into anyway. So I kind of invented this job for me, which was really nice. And it's been great fun so far.
Combining the two loves then.
Yeah, it just really worked out nicely.
Excellent. Very good. And then obviously with the pandemic last year, there's a massive shift in fitness and people working out from home. And I'm sure you've covered lots of different bits and pieces from that. Is there anything that you could recommend that really stood out as something good for that sort of, trend, the working out from home?
Yeah, I think, well, there obviously a lot of people got into the Joe Wicks online workouts, and then there were similar things, like Peloton does the subscription for workouts, which you can do on the bike or a treadmill or without. So you can do workouts just with like body weight and things. And there's Apple Fitness Plus as well. And I think those kind of subscriptions are a really good way of working out at home, because you don't have to make a big commitment all at once. Certainly at the start of the pandemic, there was a huge surge in demand for treadmills and exercise bikes and rowing machines. You couldn't find them for love nor money. And I suspect that now the gyms and things have started to reopen, that a lot of those are probably gathering dust. They are a really big investment all in one go, whereas a subscription service, if your situation changes, you can just drop it anytime. And I also think a good fitness watch is also a really good investment, because there's so many different options, and whatever kind of exercise you're into, whether you're training for a marathon or you just want to start walking a bit more and taking a few more steps, there's something for you, and you can use it for any kind of sport as well. So I think that's a good investment, and it can be less than £100, or you can really blow the budget on a super high-end one if you want to. But I think that's a really good investment longer term.
There's a big range there as well, isn't there, with those?
Huge, something from just like a basic Fitbit to a super high-end running watch that will tell you like how many calories you should be taking in at this part of your 5-day ultra marathon event.
Excellent. And what trends then are you seeing in fitness and well-being in 2021?
Yeah, I think there's a leaning towards everything being more connected, which is really nice. So rather than having kind of a patchwork of all different apps, so you've got a different app for your smart scales and a different app for your watch, and then there's another one for your bike computer. Everything is more linked, which is I think really handy, and it makes things a lot easier. So your smart scale can link to the same app as your smart watch, and then you get all your body composition data and all your running data, your steps, your calories, all in one place. And also we're seeing a lot of sports watches that connect to gym equipment as well, like Apple Gym Kit, and there are others as well. So you can just hook up and get your heart rate data and everything, and your distance and pace directly from the treadmill into your app. So I think that's really useful as well. Or your wearables and other devices all pulling the data together
into one place.
It makes it much more accessible.
Excellent. And then you review quite a lot of gadgets and bits and pieces. Is there anything that has been like, what's been the most sort of fun to review?
I think one was the Muse Band S, which is kind of a meditation and sleep aid. It's a headband. And it's got sensors that go on your forehead that are like built into the band, and it monitors your brain activity. And you have the app on your phone, and it plays like a meditation session, like a guided with speech and stuff, or music. And the music will change according to like how, if your mind gets distracted, you start thinking too much, or sometimes if you move, because it's got an accelerometer in it as well. So then you have to focus again and sort of bring it back to your breathing and keep yourself calm. But that was really interesting. That was really something different.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. The things that they can make now are just crazy. Brilliant. And then sort of, well, not aside from fitness, obviously it can be fitness or well-being related, but if you could write about anything at all, what would it be and why?
I would like to interview Elliot Kipchoge, marathon runner, and find out about the tech that he uses himself for his own training. I'm sure I know he's got a ton of sponsors, but what he actually uses himself, and any tips that he'd have for our readers on just how to keep themselves motivated, and just about his background as well, because he's just a fascinating guy. And why would you not want to talk to Elliot Kipchoge?
I hope it comes along for you sometime.
Maybe one day.
And then, Kat, what's the best part of your job? And then on the flip side, then what's the worst part of your job?
The best part is definitely talking to people about their passions.
Mm-hmm.
So particularly small startup companies, and you actually get to talk to the founders. Yeah. That's always really exciting. One of the questions that I always like to ask towards the end is, what are you most excited about for the future? Yeah. And you always get so much out of that, and just get to share in their passion. Yeah. Yeah, that is definitely the best thing.
Lovely.
And the worst thing is possibly when you've got a pair of trainers to review, and the weather forecast is rain for the next like 2 weeks, and you know there's no way of getting out of that, because you can't just review them on a treadmill. You've got to go out like several days, put some proper miles into them, so that you can actually tell the reader what they are like to use. And it's good for them to know what they're like in the wet as well. But sometimes you look out of the window and you think, oh no.
Over here is definitely not the right place, isn't it? Not
no, the UK.
We're not blessed with weather at all.
No.
Kat, have you got any tips then for aspiring journalists? And maybe if you could share 3 tips.
Yeah, definitely. I'd say the first one is to just grab as much experience as you can. It doesn't have to be necessarily on like your dream website or magazine or newspaper, just any little bits that you can get. Like one placement I did that it was not remotely glamorous, but it was on a Virgin Trains magazine.
Okay.
And it didn't, because this was during my diploma, we all had to do a placement somewhere over the Easter break. And some people would apply for Private Eye, or they'd apply for Vogue or the Sunday Times magazine. But I decided that I wanted something where you could actually really get stuck in and do something. You weren't going to be making the tea or organizing the cupboards.
Yeah.
And that did actually give me a lot of opportunity to actually do some real writing. So even if it doesn't seem glamorous, it's not what you want to do ultimately, that can be really useful. Another one is don't be afraid to pick up the phone. You don't have to do everything via email, and it can sometimes be, you can get more, it sounds a bit weird, get more out of someone by actually talking to them over the phone. Yeah. And they start to get a bit more relaxed, and that can be really useful.
Yeah.
And the third one would be this. So far, thankfully, this isn't something that I fall over on myself, but always double, triple check when your embargo dates are, because sometimes you have embargoes and they've been provided by someone in a different time zone, and you need to be absolutely sure the date and the time in your time zone, especially with daylight savings.
Yeah.
So that is one not to fall over on.
Yeah, that's something that you just wouldn't overly think of either. You know, it's one that I'm sure a lot of people get caught out on.
Just a nightmare. You never want to be in that situation.
Yeah, no, definitely not. And then we'll finish up just, I know you're a keen runner, you've already mentioned that, but could you tell us maybe one other thing about yourself that's not related to journalism?
Yeah, other than the tech and the sort of sports stuff, I'm also really into baking, which helps balance out the running and everything. It means you can, if you're doing all the running for work and for fun, then you can also bake lots of cake. So that's nice. And quite a fan of the Great British Bake Off, and following some of the challenges on there. Failing miserably at quite a few of them, like who knew Jaffa cakes were so hard to make? They really are. So yeah, that would be my extra thing.
Excellent. And have you got anything, like what's your favorite thing to make, or have you got a signature bake? Or
Macarons, they can be a challenge sometimes. They turn out, they just weld themselves to the baking paper, but when they do turn out well, you can bring them along to like the bake off at work and take first prize, because everyone's really impressed.
I'm sure they are. That's excellent. That's a brilliant skill to have. Well, Kat, listen, thanks so much for taking the time today. And if people want to find out more about you, where can they find you?
Yeah, if you just search for Kat Ellis Tech Radar on Google, that will bring up all my contact details, including my email address and social media profiles. So that is probably the easiest way to do it. Or if you want to email me directly, it's cat.ellis, as cat with a C, .ellis @futurenet.com.
Brilliant. And if people want to find out more about us, you can find us on Twitter @legitimate_app, or you can find us on the internet at legitimate.io. Thanks again for today, Kat.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.